The gentle dusk was fading away. Through the living room window, the setting sun cast a soft orange glow on the white walls. Catherine Reynolds had finished her work at the pharmacy, completed her grocery shopping, and returned home as usual. "I'm home, Madison." As she opened the door, her 6-year-old daughter came running, her pigtails bouncing. "Welcome home, Mom. Today in art class, I drew a really good bunny." Madison proudly showed her school handout. Indeed, there was a lovingly drawn rabbit on the paper. "My, that's wonderful. It looks just like Hoppy," Catherine said, pointing to her daughter's precious stuffed animal. The pink long-eared rabbit sat in its usual spot on the sofa. While preparing dinner, Catherine checked the clock repeatedly. It was time for her husband James to return. As a construction site supervisor, he had always maintained a punctual lifestyle. "Is Daddy going to be late again?" Madison asked anxiously. "Yes, he has a site meeting today." In reality, Catherine and James had been separated for nearly a month. She could only explain to Madison that Daddy is busy with work. The dining table was set for 2 instead of the usual 3. It had been a month since she'd taken refuge at her friend Sarah's home. They were living with minimal belongings in a small apartment. "Let's eat." Mother and daughter said grace together. Recently, Madison had been crying more at night. Her teacher reported that she seemed less energetic at school. It broke Catherine's heart. She remembered meeting James 7 years ago at a friend's wedding. During the first dance, he had smiled at her so kindly. She thought he was sincere, caring, and the ideal man. After marriage, they bought a house in a quiet residential area of Columbus, Ohio. A white 2-story home with a small backyard. They attended church every Sunday and maintained good relationships with their neighbors. It seemed like a family everyone would envy. But now, she was living off her savings. She had changed her phone number and cut off all but essential contact. "Mom, I'm full." Madison's voice brought Catherine back to reality. As she cleared the finished plates, she looked out the window. The sun had set, and it was already dark. She drew the curtains shut out of habit. Only her friend Sarah understood and supported their situation. Through her lawyer, she was working on custody arrangements, but the end wasn't yet in sight. "Well then, it's bath time." "Okay. Can Hoppy take a bath with me?" "No, dear. Hoppy needs to stay here on guard duty. He'll get wet, you know." As she spoke, Catherine gently stroked her daughter's head. What could she do to protect this precious life? As she searched for that answer, another day was quietly coming to an end. At night, in Sarah's apartment living room, Catherine had Madison on her lap. The small 2-seater sofa was a bit worn, but it was just the right size for mother and daughter to cuddle. Cheerful songs played from the television. "Mom, I wish I could do magic like Elsa." Madison hugged her beloved Hoppy, watching TV with dreamy eyes. A few building blocks and crayons were scattered on the floor, creating their usual peaceful evening scene. "Yes. But you have something more wonderful than magic." "What is it?" "A promise with me. No matter what happens, I promise to protect you." Catherine gently stroked her daughter's hair. Outside the window, it was already pitch dark, and as usual, the heavy curtains were tightly drawn. Suddenly, the TV screen changed. With a sharp warning sound, red "Breaking News" text covered the screen. Breaking news. As the announcer's voice echoed, the word "Wanted" appeared in the upper left corner. And in the center, prominently displayed: Catherine Reynolds, age 34. Wanted nationwide for allegedly abducting 6-year-old Madison Reynolds. The suspect may be dangerous. Catherine's driver's license photo was now being broadcast across the nation. A deafening silence dominated the room. "Mom, is that your picture?" Madison's voice trembled. Her small body clung to her mother. "Madison, it's okay. I will." She didn't have a chance to finish. Heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs. Multiple police sirens echoed through the street. Then violent knocking shook the entire apartment. Madison let out a small scream. "It's all right. I'm here with you." Catherine instinctively shielded her daughter. The next moment, the door burst open with a loud bang. Bright flashlights illuminated the room as police officers in black bulletproof vests entered with guns drawn. "Put your hands up, slowly. Please, don't frighten my daughter," Catherine pleaded with a trembling voice. But the situation was already beyond her control. Cold handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Madison's anguished screams filled the air. A female Child Protective Services worker approached Madison, gently but firmly. "It's okay, Madison. We'll see each other soon. Trust me." Catherine forced out the words. But before she could know if they reached her daughter, mother and child were separated. Curious neighbors had already begun to gather. Police sirens continued to wail, and news cameras flashed their lights. Suspect secured, child victim safely in custody. The clinical voice crackled over the radio. As Catherine was pushed into the police car, she watched another car carrying Madison. A small hand was pressed against the rear window. The street lights illuminated a growing crowd of onlookers. Smartphone cameras flashed. By tomorrow morning, this footage would be on the news. The police car started moving. Sarah's apartment grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Just 15 minutes ago, they had been spending a peaceful evening there. Everything had changed so suddenly. Catherine wiped away tears with her cuffed hands. "Absolutely, without fail." She whispered her vow in the dark car. This wasn't the end. She would reveal the truth and get her daughter back. Until then, she would never give up. In the darkness of night, only the red lights of the sirens continued to flash, symbolizing this abnormal situation. In the interrogation room at the Columbus Police Department, the walls were an institutional gray. The fluorescent ceiling lights cast a harsh white glow that emphasized Catherine's exhausted expression. Metal chairs faced each other across a scratched office table. A large mirror covered one wall, the usual one-way window of interrogation rooms. A surveillance camera silently watched the scene from the corner. 11:45 p.m. 3 hours had passed since her arrest. The door opened, and a young female detective entered. Her new badge gleamed dully under the fluorescent lights. "Mrs. Reynolds." The detective placed a thick file on the desk. "My daughter, is Madison all right?" Catherine's voice was hoarse. The image of her crying daughter was still burned into her mind. "She's under Child Protective Services care. Given your situation, it's the best course of action." The detective sat down and opened the file. Mrs. Reynolds, you have the right to remain silent. An attorney. That won't be necessary. I'll tell you everything. But first, please tell my daughter. Tell her I'm okay. Tell her not to be afraid. Tears spilled from Catherine's eyes. The detective showed a momentary look of confusion but quickly returned to her professional demeanor. Then, could you explain what happened on October 15th? A photograph was pulled from the file. It was a still from a supermarket security camera, showing Catherine with an apparently enraged expression. That's not. We have other evidence. More evidence was presented. A medical report, signs of violence against husband noted. Witness statements from neighbors, often heard her yelling harshly at her daughter lately. Records from Madison's school, child shows extreme avoidance of mother-related topics. Records of suspicious cash withdrawals, signs of preparation for flight. It's all a misunderstanding. Catherine desperately tried to explain. But no matter what words she formed, they seemed inadequate against the mountain of evidence before her. Mrs. Reynolds, you. Just then, there was a knock at the door. The attorney has arrived. The detective had to temporarily suspend the interrogation. The sound of her footsteps faded as she left the room. Catherine sighed deeply and looked up at the ceiling. The fluorescent light illuminated her like the judgment light of a courtroom. The clock was approaching midnight. James, why? She whispered her husband's name. 7 years of marriage. Their vows in church. Memories of happy days. All of it now taking on a different color. And above all, Madison. What thoughts must be going through her mind tonight in that strange place? Did she have her beloved Hoppy with her? Was she able to sleep? The door opened again. Catherine Reynolds, I'm Robert Mitchell. I'll be handling your defense. A lawyer in his mid-50s entered. His mild expression contained unmistakable strength. First, let's organize the situation. Mitchell began pulling documents from his briefcase. This will be a long battle. But the truth will surely come to light. For that, we need to carefully examine each piece. In those words, Catherine found a glimmer of hope. Midnight at the police station. Only the interrogation room light remained on, unextinguished. No one waited for her return, no one came to meet her. Only somewhere, a 6-year-old girl waited for her mother's return. That thought alone sustained Catherine's heart. Attorney Mitchell began reviewing the documents. A new night of battle was quietly beginning to dawn. At the Columbus Police Department's Major Cases Investigation Division, even past 2 a.m., the detective's desk light remained on. Something's not right. She was reviewing the mountain of evidence spread across her desk for the umpteenth time. While there was certainly pressure as a rookie detective assigned to a major case, something beyond that nagged at her. The security monitor displayed Catherine at the supermarket. On screen, she certainly appeared enraged. However, Murphy, got a minute? The detective called out to her colleague who specialized in digital forensics. Can you analyze this footage? Particularly the 30 seconds before and after this scene. Murphy frowned as he examined the footage on the monitor. Give me a moment. The sound of typing keyboard echoed through the silent office. And then. Oh. There was a hint of surprise in Murphy's voice. "This has been edited. Professional job, hard to notice, but there are traces." The detective's intuition had been correct. The footage had been skillfully manipulated. Next, she focused on the medical records. James Reynolds's arm injury diagnosis. Date, October 15th, 3 p.m. Wait. The detective checked the time stamp on the security camera footage. October 15th, 3:15 p.m. This is physically impossible. It would take at least 30 minutes by car from the clinic to the supermarket. Traffic would likely be heavy at that time. "Captain. I've found something important." Division Captain Thomas Bradley had just returned with coffee. "Look at this." As she pointed out the time discrepancy, Bradley sighed deeply. "To be honest, I've been concerned too." The captain pulled a file from his desk drawer. "These are James Reynolds's past records. His position at work, his reputation at church, everything is too perfect. Almost as if it were fabricated." The detective completed his thought. Just then, a young officer rushed in. Suspicious manipulation traces had been found in the Reynolds account records. Moreover, there were signs of professional-level tampering. "Captain, we need to question Catherine Reynolds again." But it was already past 3 a.m. "First thing tomorrow morning. Tonight, focus on examining the evidence." Though following these orders, the detective couldn't settle down. Catherine spending the night in detention. Madison in protective custody. And James, presumably spending the night normally at home. We need to recheck the witness statements too. The detective spread out the neighbors' testimonies. As she read through them, new suspicions arose. The wording of the testimonies was unnaturally similar. Almost as if they were speaking from a script. "Murphy. One more favor. Can you check James Reynolds's company computer access records? Especially the past month." A construction site supervisor. That meant access to building plans and schedule data. And with that, advanced digital editing software. "Oh." Murphy's voice echoed through the silent office. "Found it. Definitely unusual access logs outside work hours." All the evidence was slowly but surely beginning to point in one direction. The detective stood up and stared at the case timeline posted on the wall. It included the record of when James Reynolds reported the kidnapping by wife. The report was too perfect. She remembered that scene. A husband who remained composed, providing necessary information without excess or deficiency. Almost as if it had been prepared. The detective turned to her superior with firm resolve. "I'd like to request an arrest warrant for James Reynolds." Outside was still dark, with time remaining until dawn. However, the light of truth had definitely begun to shine. In the corner of the office, the night shift officer turned up the volume on the TV. Last night's breaking news was still being repeated. "Model mother in kidnapping case." That headline now seemed ironic. "I will uncover the truth." As the desk clock struck 4, the detective began preparing a new report. By the time the sun began to rise, James Reynolds had been summoned to the station. "My detective. I apologize for such an early morning visit." James appeared in a perfect suit. His usual gentle smile played on his face. Mr. Reynolds, this way please. The interrogation room was where Catherine had sat last night. The same gray walls, the same fluorescent light. But this morning, the air was different. We made some interesting discoveries last night. The detective began in a calm voice. Did you know? Security camera footage retains traces of editing. For a moment, James's expression tightened. And the timing between the medical report and the footage. A physical impossibility. I don't know what you mean. There's more. Evidence was presented one after another. Traces of unnatural manipulation in bank records. Suspicious access to company computers. And witness statements unnaturally consistent. It was too perfect. The detective said quietly. Your plan was too perfect. At that moment, all previous gentleness vanished from James's expression. Can you prove it? We already have the warrants. The door opened, and multiple officers entered. James Reynolds, you're under arrest for evidence tampering, false reporting, and... The sound of handcuffs echoed. Why? Just before his arrest, James muttered. I wanted to be a perfect father. Someone everyone would acknowledge as perfect. At that time, Catherine was watching from the adjacent interrogation room. Through the one-way mirror, she observed her husband's transformed appearance. Mrs. Reynolds. The detective entered the room. All charges against you have been cleared. And... The door opened, and Madison burst in, holding Hoppy in both hands. Madison. Catherine embraced her daughter. Tears flowed. I'm sorry for frightening you. No, you didn't do anything wrong. I believed in you. Madison clung to her mother, sobbing. The morning sun streaming through the window gently enveloped mother and daughter. Mrs. Reynolds. The detective called out. Things might be difficult from here on, but... Yes, we'll be fine. Catherine smiled. We have each other. While holding Madison, she said. A new beginning. That's all I want to think about now. The police station lobby was already filled with reporters. But this time, they would report the truth. And the story of a mother and daughter's bond. Let's go, Madison. Yes. Mother and daughter walked hand in hand into the new morning light. 3 months after the incident, on a winter Saturday morning. Madison, time to wake up. Catherine was preparing breakfast in their new apartment's living room. Though small, the apartment had a view of the park. Several of Madison's drawings decorated the walls. Good morning, Mom. Madison appeared in the living room, rubbing her eyes. Still in her pajamas, hugging her faithful Hoppy. Today's exciting, isn't it? The table was set with pancakes and fruit. Madison's favorites. Yes. We get to see everyone. After the incident, Madison had been receiving counseling and now participated in a support group for children with similar experiences. There, she had found new friends and was gradually regaining her smile. Hey Mom, is Daddy still? Sometimes, Madison asked about her father. Daddy is dealing with his own problems right now. James had been released on bail but was awaiting trial. He was also required to receive psychiatric counseling. But Madison, if you want to see him. It's okay for now, Madison shook her head. I have you with me, Mom. Catherine felt her heart swell with emotion. She was set to return to her position at the pharmacy next month. Her colleagues had said they would warmly welcome her back. Sarah continued to support mother and daughter as a dear friend. "Oh, I need to write my letter." Madison hurried back to her room. Writing thank you letters to the detective had become her recent daily routine. Catherine stood by the window and looked outside. In the park, she could see people enjoying their early morning jogs. An ordinary, peaceful morning scene. But she understood deep in her heart just how precious that ordinary truly was. "Mom, look." Madison brought over a picture she had drawn. It showed a mother and daughter holding hands and smiling. Flowers bloomed all around them. "That's a beautiful picture." "Yes. Because we're happy now." At those words, Catherine hugged her daughter tightly. Indeed, this was a new beginning. And they were not alone in it. Outside the window, the winter sky was gradually brightening. A new day was beginning, quietly but surely, filled with hope.